Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to learn how to change the radiator on an 8th gen Civic. This is my first time attempting the process, and it should go pretty smoothly, I'm hoping. We're going to go ahead and upgrade to a Skunk2 Alpha radiator. It's a full-size aluminum, and we're going to throw on some new silicone radiator hoses. This car's radiator is obviously leaking. The owner already found the leak and determined it was a new radiator that needed to be replaced. The first thing I'm going to do is jack up the car. That way I have full access to draining the radiator and any of the remaining coolant that may be in the system. The owner had already removed this plastic covering on the bottom of the car, so I can't really use it on the car to show you as reference. But right here, you'll see it from the bottom. There's this hole. If you reach up into here from the bottom of the car, that's where the drain plug is. Go ahead and drain your radiator and let it drain for a solid 10 to 15 minutes to get any of the coolant out of the system. Then the first thing we want to do to get the radiator out of the car after you've gotten the coolant removed, we need to remove this plastic panel. There's a handful of clips that you just need to pry these up. They will slide out, and you can pop them out of their respective locations. Looks like you have two on each side here, and then on the corners here, there's another clip which is held into this other piece of plastic paneling. You can pop that up and get the corners out. Then once you do, you can just kind of lift at it, just pull it away from the grill, and then forward over the radiator latch. Okay, now this is my first time seeing a radiator on this particular vehicle with this lifted. And from initial impressions, it looked like the grill needs to be removed, and also this part of the subframe right here. So there's a handful of bolts. I'm going to start with removing these two brackets for the radiator cap. Well, there's one bracket and the two bolts, what I meant to say. We got two 10 millimeter right here. Looks like there's a couple 10s right here. There's also one right here on the back. Looks like we have an Allen head right here holding the grill on. We're gonna have to get the grill removed. I don't think it'll come up with this piece together because it feels like it's on. I'm gonna have to figure out what's snapping that into place or bolting that into place as well. So, and then even the hood latch, looks like remove the 10s there, get that out of the way. You know what, honestly that might be able to come up with the arm itself, but let's just start removing stuff and see what we can get to. So I'm going to start by removing the two 10 millimeter bolts which hold the radiator cap up above the frame. Next I'm going to remove the Allen head bolts which attach the grill to this frame. It's a 5 millimeter Allen head bolt. With those removed, looks like I have enough room that I need. Like, it looks like the grill's attached to the bumper, and I don't think I'll need any more room than this, because once I pull that up and have this removed, I should be able to slide the radiator straight up. I might be able to leave these on the car as I remove this, but I'm just going to remove both radiator stays. These are both 10 millimeter. Now behind the grill, there's two 10 millimeter bolts we need to remove. These are the the condenser brackets for part of the AC system. These are what hold the condenser to this part of the frame. So remove both of those 10 millimeter bolts. You can pull it forward a little bit and use a wrench to get in there. Now I'm just going to remove the hood latch entirely from this. It's really easy, just the three 10 millimeter bolts, just because I don't want to not be able to pull this completely away from the car. So I'm going to remove those three next. Now when the hood latch was removed, you'll have this clip here attaching it to the wiring harness. Squeeze down on the opposite end closest to the car, and you'll be able to separate these from one another. Now we can pull this away freely. Just set it somewhere over in the engine bay out of the way. Now on both sides of the car, remove the three 10 millimeter bolts. One in the front, one on top, and one right here on the reverse side. Okay, now after you have all 6 of those removed, slide the coolant neck bracket back. Let's try to lift it out of here. Yeah, there we go. Let's try the opposite side. Okay, there's a little clip that holds the wiring harness there. Let me squeeze that off. Oh, right here, there's a little clip holding the harness to it. It's like a little piece of the wiring harness. So if I can squeeze it together, one side and squeeze the other side. There we go. Popped it right away. Now you can remove this completely. Now we need to get the radiator hoses removed. I'm going to start with the top two. Depending on the application, some will have this style clamp, some will have an OEM style clamp. Let's get these top two removed. Now the reason we wanted to remove both, we want access to the fans. We're going to get those pulled out. You know what? I could probably just yank the whole radiator out with the fan still attached. So go ahead and disconnect the fan wiring. You have this one right here. There's going to be a clip holding the wiring to the fan itself. I'm going to see if I can get that removed without breaking it. Sometimes it's tough because it's easier to remove the fan and squeeze at the two prongs on the inside. So I might just have to pull the fan forward to preserve that. And then same with the condenser fan on this side. Well, you know, I don't really know which one's a condenser fan and which one's a cooling fan. On all the EKs, EGs, obviously the condenser fan was on the right side. So that's naturally what I was assuming, but I might be wrong considering the compressor is now on this side. But regardless, we need to get these fans removed. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull these 10mm bolts right here. That way I can pry the fan forward. I'm going to see if I can snap these little clips out without breaking them. You know what, guys, that was a lot easier. Four 10mm bolts, 2 for each fan. Then you can kind of slide it up. I'll be able to squeeze at it now with my pliers. And then get the wiring straight away from it. Now, also go ahead and squeeze there, pull the plug out. This fan is removed. It really wasn't much more difficult. I would suggest doing it in that manner also. With the fans removed, you have all that room to get the radiator pulled. It's going to be very easy to get pulled out. But before doing that, you need to get your lower radiator hose disconnected and the little switch for the coolant temperature. I don't know if this is the fan switch on these vehicles or just a coolant temperature for the car itself. Regardless, squeeze down on it. The clip feels like it's on the bottom side and pull it away. I'm gonna actually get into the car and get that one removed, but get both of those disconnected. And with both of those removed, all the fluid drained, radiator's gonna come right out. Now when I pulled the old radiator, little radiator stays on the bottom. These are what pad it from moving around. Make sure you have both of those. You're going to need those for reinstalling the new radiator. This one looks a little bit different. I guess that's the way it is. I'm going to double check, but slightly different in shape. But those are the two that were on there when I pulled it out. If you're changing radiator hoses, which I strongly suggest, now's the time to do so. Very easy to get to the lower one. The connection is right here. Although it looks like these hoses were brand new, the owner said he wanted me to replace them, and we're using those silicone ones. And the top one is just right here. That one's gonna be very easy to get to. Pull that out as well. And it also comes with this small piece which attaches to the fill neck. I'm gonna go ahead and change all 3 of those, and then we'll get the radiator put back in. Go ahead and start getting your hoses reconnected. These ones are made by HPS Performance Products. Seem really nice. They even come with their own clamps, so I'm go ahead and utilizing all those as well. Really tightly knit clamps that fit the hoses very, very well. They seem to be stronger than these generic ones that you pick up like at Lowe's or whatever. I just like the way these feel as I've tightened a couple of them already. So go ahead and get all the hoses replaced. Now we need to get the Skunk2 radiator ready for installation. I'm going to first start by putting back the little radiator stays into the bottom of the chassis. Then I'm going to remove the sensor. It's just a 17mm socket. Go ahead and replace it on the Skunk2. This one was loose already, so easy to get out. Now looking at it, it looks like an ECT sensor, electronic cooling temperature sensor. Go ahead and get that one replaced. I'm sorry, before I put it in, it should have the little rubber seal on the base of it still, so make sure yours has that. You're gonna need that to avoid any coolant leaks. Now when I was putting this in, Came across a small problem where you see this area on the bolt where it's flat and larger. See if my camera will focus. Right here at the very base of it. On the Skunk2 hole, I got in a certain distance and it felt like it was stopping, but it wasn't bottoming out. I could still see the little rubber gasket. So it's not tapered there to fit this section of that plug. Whereas on the OEM radiator, you see in there how it's tapered and then the threads. So I didn't go in all the way because I didn't want to risk damaging it. I am going to try to offset that by using, I have a bunch of O-rings, so I'm going to use a larger O-ring that'll fit it, and hopefully it'll, I don't know, if maybe I'll just use 2 O-rings to compensate the difference. But I'm going to try something with that, and I'll let you know the results after I have it installed, whether it worked or not. Okay, so I have this much larger O-ring. I'm going to try that out and see if it fits in there pretty well. That one seemed to do a much better job. And this is the orientation of the way that sensor goes. I went a little bit past it clockwise. It's not straight up and down, but that's tight right there. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to put some fluid into it and see if it holds it initially, just with a little bit of coolant when I have it reinstalled. The drain plug is now a 22 millimeter, so go ahead and make sure that's tightened before we install it. That way we don't got to worry about whether or not it was tightened up. I'm going to go ahead and install the fans next, because the clip, once I have the fan on, I'll just be able to pop the clip back into place, which is easier. No need to put these on while they're in the car. And Skunk2 has all of the provisions for them to fit perfect. They have the 2 mounting brackets at the bottom. Then you just use your 10 millimeter bolts that initially came with the car and retighten both of those. Now let's get the radiator dropped back into the car. Okay, that worked perfectly. They both fit into their proper position. You can tell it's kind of holding itself in place now. Go ahead and get the radiator hoses attached. I'm going to start with the lower one. So get that one disconnected, remove the little caps on the radiator, get that plugged in, and then I'm going to plug in my fans. Then I'm going to work on the upper radiator hoses, and then the frame piece, and then all the related hardware. Getting all the hoses on, very easy. Same with all the wiring for the fans. Just go ahead and reconnect all that. Straightforward process. Next we're going to connect that radiator support bracket, which goes back across. Go ahead and get that lined up. Connect all 3 10s which hold it into place. Connect the 2 10s which hold the condenser into place. And then connect your radiator fill neck, the 2 10 millimeters here, and also the 3 for the 3 10s for the hood latch. I'm gonna go ahead and do all that. And there it is. Got everything bolted back up. Now I'm gonna fill it up and we're gonna test it for leaks. Now after you've verified there's no leaks, go ahead and refill it with your fluid of choice. What I did, I kind of flushed the system out a couple times. I used distilled water, ran it through and let it heat up completely, and then completely drained the system. Also verified the fans were turning on when they should have, and make sure the thermostat was working by checking the lower hose from the thermostat housing to the bottom of the radiator, and that one felt really good. I used a digital thermometer to check temperatures. And then lastly, get your black shroud put back on if you removed it, or if you want to leave it off just to kind of show off the radiator. And then if you removed the bottom paneling like I showed you earlier in the video, you can go ahead and replace that as well, and you are finished. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.